Hello and welcome to Codeblaze. In the last episode of creating color switch in Godot, we set up our trap manager and our basic gameplay loop is done. So all we need to do is some UI work now, check if there's some bugs, do some polishing, and then we can try to export this as an APK and run it on an Android device. So this time around, we'll be developing some UI like the start screen, end screen, and some in-game HUD to show the current score. Also, we'll complete the game loop also by actually restarting the game on game over. So I think this should be done in one or if not two episodes, and this whole series should be over in 2 or 3 episodes at most. And I'm going to try to record these last episodes as a stretch, so you'll be able to view them as soon as they are available. Don't want to keep dragging this series around anymore. It's almost been, I think, a good amount of months since this series has been going on, and it's fully my fault only. I haven't been regular, but now I just want to finish this series up and start with some new projects. As there are some exciting things I'm working on that I want to show you, but for now, let's focus on recreating color switch in Godot. So let's start with some UI. So our UI, we would be dividing into three parts: the start screen, the in-game HUD, and the end screen. So let's start with the start screen. We'll create a new scene here. Uh, New scene. Call it start screen, and we'll take the user interface node. Okay. Make sure it's the anchor values are set so that it stretches the whole screen. And on the start screen, we just want a title and one label text which would say touch to start. Okay. So to do that, we'll add a VBox. So Godot has these very nice UI nodes, VBox and HBox, and they kind of represent the Flexbox pattern in web development. If you're not familiar with Flexbox, I'll leave some links down below. But using these two containers, you can build any sort of UI, and that's where the power of Flexbox lies in, right? The way you can control the growing and shrinking of the child elements. So we don't need to get into much in depth for Flexbox or VBox since we are going to have only two elements. But just make sure to go over these two components as they provide a lot of capability. So we'll add a VBox here. And again, we'll need to add a child. So this will be a texture rect. Texture rect. Since our title is an image, to check the assets folder, you'll find one title.svg. This is something we can directly drop here. So let's just change some values on a VBox. Okay, we want a VBox also to fill the whole screen. So to do that, just go into our anchors for right and bottom, just increase it to the maximum value. And we'll go into a margin and reset the right and bottom. Okay. We'll put some overall margin around the screen that will basically provide some padding. We'll just say 64, 64, minus 64, and minus 64. And the alignment would be center. Okay, so this way the element will be in the center. Next, we want to horizontally align that. So we can go to our texture red, and in the stretch mode, we can select keep centered. This way our texture is horizontally also aligned. Okay. Right, now we have our VBox here. We'll add another child node. This would simply be a label. Okay. And we'll just call it touch to start. Okay, font size is pretty small right now, so we'll be changing that. To do that, go into theme overrides for your label, select fonts, and we can create a new dynamic font. Okay, let's edit this. And here in the font, you need to provide a font file. So you can use your own font file if you want, but as part of the assets, I have provided one bold font here. You just drag it here. Then the settings, we'll set the size to 48. Okay. And we'll set use map map and use filter. That way we'll get some smooth text. Okay. With this, let's go back to our label and we need to align this in the center. Finally, we'll like to have some separation, and this you can do with margins also. The better way is to go back into the VBox and theme overrides. You can enable separation here, and I'll just say 5 and 2. And this way, our the title and the labels are nicely separated, and it will scale according to the screen height. So with this, we have set up our start screen. Next, we'll be adding a simple script to acknowledge the touch, and that will start the. So we'll take this parent node and we'll be adding a script to it, and we can inherit from control only, or we'll change that later on. Let's see. And we can call it start screen.gd. Okay. Okay, so here we'll define a custom signal, right? I don't think we have done this before, but in a way you can create your own signals also. So when you're extending a node, you can define those signals, and then these signals will be available in the inspector so that any consuming scenes can then listen to these signals. And defining a custom signal is very easy. You just need to use the signal keyword and give it a name. Since we are not going to be passing any arguments, just this is fine enough. Okay. Next, we'll do the process function. Okay, and here we'll check if the screen was touched. Okay, so if input dot is action just pressed. Okay, and the action would be UI select, where UI select corresponds to touch input. Then we can emit the signal start. Okay, and we can hide this current screen. So once we start the game, we don't want the screen to be visible. Okay, we can just hide this. Why is this complaining? Okay, argument delta is never used. Fine. Just put an underscore here. So with this, we have our start screen ready. So what we can do is back in our main scene, we'll create a new canvas layer that will host all our UI elements. Canvas layer. Let's just call it UI. Okay. And to this, we'll add our start scene, which is here. Okay, now if we check the node, we have this start signal. So we can listen to this signal and start a gameplay logic only when the start is pressed. Uh, right now, if we run it, the game would be still be running in background with our UI visible. But you can see as soon as pressed, the screen got basically our UI got disabled, but the game was still running. Now we'll be implementing the logic so that the player spawns or player starts only when the game has actually started. So to make sure that the game starts only when the start screen is hidden, we can reuse our set active functionality. So let's go to our player script. And I think we have set active defined here. If not, we'll just copy it from another place. Okay. Right. I'll take this function and define it here after on it. So this is similar to other set active functions that we have been using for our pickups and all. Like we have a set active here, right, to hide and show and disable the collision. But for player, we need to do a few other things also. One is to disable the camera follow. right? When the player is in inactive state, we want the camera to be stationary, and we can disable the physics process and process also, so that these events don't get fired and inputs are not detected. So by using this function, we can enable and disable the player, right? So in our ready function, by default, we can say set active as false. So set active false. Okay. Now in our, let's go back to our scene. We'll go to our main node. So this is our root node for the game, and we'll add a script to this. We'll call it main GD. So you can think of it as the entry point to our game, and it's just created. Okay. And here we'll get some references. So on ready var player, this will be equal to dollar player. Have I named it something else? It's player only. Okay. And here we'll need to connect our signal also. So let's go back to our start screen. We'll see this, and we'll connect this on the main node only. Just call it on game start. Connect. Okay. And here what we'll do is set the active for player. So let's just say player set active to true. Okay. Let's see if this works. Start the game. And you can see our player is not visible, nor is our camera moving. As soon as I touch the screen, the game starts. Okay, so now we have some nice start screen. Let's add some end screen logic also, right? So that whenever we signaling game over here, we want to show the end screen and to restart the game. Okay, so let's start by creating a new scene for our end screen. So this episode was also becoming a long one, so I'll be splitting it out here. So in this part, we have just created the start screen and added the logic to start the game. In the next episode, we will be looking at creating the end screen, the in-game HUD to display the score. So thanks for watching. If you have any suggestions, please leave them down below in the comments. Leave a rating, share with your friends, and that's it from Code Blaze today. Bye.